The nation today in mourning. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, one of the tallest statesmen independent India has seen, now lying there with people coming to visit him at his residence tomorrow morning. He will be taken to the BJP headquarters, and then the funeral will be taking place tomorrow in the afternoon. But today is a day for people all across the country, from every walk of life and every single political party, to look at the life of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, to think about him, to think about what he said, think about the messages that he gave to all of us, and that mourning really spreading. We have many people here in our studio whom we're going to talk to about this. But before we go any further, let's just show you a little bit more, remind some of you, maybe some of those who are very young when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was a Prime Minister and don't entirely remember him. He, of course, has been in poor health for many years now. So let's just remind you a little bit about the life and times of Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
He was a RSS Pracharak initially. He did his post-graduation from Kanpur, and he got in touch with Bhaurav Devras of the RSS. He was at that time Sahasar Karyabha, and Param Puja Shri Guruji was the Sarsanga Chalak.
You know, before he came to the RSS, we should remember that for some time he was with the student union or the student organization affiliated to the Communist Party. He was also influenced for some time in his youth by the Marxist ideology.
The evolution shows up in the telling of Vajpayee's political trajectory. A rising star of the Jan Sangh and later the BJP, making potent attacks on his political rivals and yet earning their respect.
बार-बार इस चर्चा में एक स्वर जनाए सुनाई दिया है कि वाजपेयी तो अच्छा है मगर पार्टी ठीक है। अच्छा तो अच्छे वाजपेयी का आप क्या करने का इरादा रखते हैं?
You know, Jan Sangh was terribly against Simla Agreement. When the final verdict of Simla Agreement, we were terribly against. But in the midst of this agitation, he was called by Indira Gandhi, it seems, for some consultation.
In a striking example of his lack of adherence to Hindutva dogma, L.K. Advani says if Vajpayee had his way, there may have been no BJP at all.
When in 1980, yes, we discussed whether BJP should be formed or not. He was slightly reluctant.
He was happy to continue.
हाँ वो जो चल रही थी कि जयप्रकाश जी ने बनाई वही चलने दो.
Over the next 2 decades though, Vajpayee's reputation as a moderate would be severely tested. First in the early 90s with the Ram Janmabhoomi movement.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो फैसला किया है उसका अर्थ मैं ये निकालता हूँ, वो कार सेवा रोकता नहीं है. सचमुच में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने हमें अधिकार दिया है कि हम कार सेवा करें. रोकने का तो सवाल ही नहीं. कल कार सेवा करके अयोध्या में सर्वोच्च न्यायालय के किसी निर्णय की अवहेलना नहीं होगी. कार सेवा करके सर्वोच्च न्यायालय के निर्णय का सम्मान किया जाएगा, पर आचरण किया जाएगा.
Almost a decade later, the ghosts of Ayodhya would come back to haunt Vajpayee as he helmed India's most successful coalition government. On 27th February 2002, car sevaks returning from Ayodhya burnt alive at Godhra, and then Gujarat itself burnt, as questions mounted over the inaction of its new Chief Minister.
चीफ मिनिस्टर के लिए मेरा एक ही संदेश है कि वो राजधर्म का पालन करें. राजधर्म ये शब्द काफी सार्थक है. राजा के लिए, शासक के लिए प्रजा में भेद नहीं हो सकता, न जन्म के आधार पर, न जाति के आधार पर, न संप्रदाय के आधार पर. हम भी वही कर रहे हैं साहब. मुझे विश्वास है कि नरेंद्र भाई यही कर रहे हैं.
The Bharat Ratna conferred to Vajpayee by a new BJP regime, which ironically some say marks the end of the Vajpayee legacy. But those who served under Vajpayee say that there are still lessons on how to lead by consensus.
You know, when even Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he reiterated and endorsed the line taken by Vajpayee ji when he went to Kashmir and said that we want to follow the path of Vajpayee as he articulated, you know, nearly a decade ago. The approach to normalizing the situation in Kashmir is through the principles, the three principles of Kashmiriyat, Jamhuriyat, Insaniyat. This was Atalji's, these are Atalji's words, but Modi repeated them.
The Vajpayee legacy of straddling the political and ideological divide, perhaps never more needed in the Indian political landscape.
Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the legacy, the ideas that he put forward to, the many things that he tried to do while he was the Prime Minister. So, Shekhar Gupta is with us, Mani Shankar Iyer, Deshat Nigam is with us, Smita Prakash as well. We're going to come to all of you to discuss some of this. But before I actually come to any of you, I just had to go across to Omar Abdullah, who's joining us, and I see Chandra Bose also with us. But Omar Abdullah, perhaps one of the things that he tried to do the most was try and put an end to that entire history with Pakistan of tension. And not just once, he tried it repeatedly. The Lahore Bus Yatra, which was repeated, which was followed immediately afterwards by the betrayal of Kargil. But he didn't stop at that. The Agra peace meeting, calling General Musharraf across, trying again to make peace. And in Kashmir, I'm sure today would be a day when many Kashmiris would be really thinking back to what might have been. Because he really was perhaps a leader who held out the greatest promise for change and transformation.
Absolutely. I think he was one of the few prime ministers who recognized that for peace internally within the state of Jammu and Kashmir, he had to tackle both the internal dimension of the problem as well as the external dimension of the problem. He tried to improve relations with Pakistan, as you pointed out, both with the bus, then with the Agra peace talks, with a comprehensive dialogue with General Pervez Musharraf, which he then handed over to Dr. Manmohan Singh, who carried it forward as far as it was possible to take. But at the same time, Prime Minister Vajpayee also looked at the internal dimension of the problem. In fact, he reached out to Pakistan from Srinagar at a time when most people, both from within his party as well as his wider audience, was expecting the traditional Pakistan bashing, which was the flavor of the day. But in fact, Prime Minister Vajpayee went against the grain and extended a hand of friendship towards Pakistan from Srinagar. He also very famously coined the phraseology that the Prime Minister Modi went back to just the other day on the 15th of August from the ramparts of the Red Fort, where he talked about the need to resolve the problem in Kashmir from the prism of Insaniyat, Jamhuriyat and Kashmiriyat. Not the most popular phraseology in the BJP then or even now for that matter. But as I said, Prime Minister Vajpayee was that statesman who recognized that peace internally in Jammu and Kashmir could not be achieved if you focused only on one dimension of the problem, either the internal or the external. He tried to actually address both, but sadly his efforts were not to bear fruit, and today we continue to be the victims of that problem.
Right. I mean, when you look back at the Lahore Bus Yatra and what might have been the path that may have been taken in the subcontinent had that not been followed by Kargil is of course something which everyone can speculate about. I just wanted to get your take, Omar, on a slightly different issue. There used to be a time in the 1990s when the BJP would have been considered, it was often called an untouchable party with the rest of the opposition. From there to suddenly having a situation where many, including the National Conference, felt comfortable being in a coalition government along with the BJP. To what extent was that the result of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and what was there about him that made you comfortable to trust him to be a minister there?
Well, I think I can only speak for the National Conference. I can't speak for other constituents of the NDA. But for us, that alliance was not with the BJP. It was with Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I think it was purely a coincidence that he happened to be a leader of the BJP at that time. We would have tied up with him even if he'd been a leader of another party, because that was the sort of stature that he had, the sort of way in which he was able to bring people together. I think he was one of those leaders who spoke very little but understood a lot more than he let on. Again, perhaps one of the reasons why he was able to carry a coalition through both an election in 98, 99, and then for the duration of his term, and which was cut short only because of their own decision. And sorry, yes?
I'm just going to interrupt you. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is speaking right now. We need to go across to him.
भारतवर्ष ने आज अपना अनमोल अटल रत्न खो दिया है। अटल जी का विराट व्यक्तित्व और उनके जाने का दुख दोनों ही शब्दों के दायरे से परे हैं। वो एक जननायक, प्रखर वक्ता, ओजस्वी कवि, पत्रकार, प्रभावशाली अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यक्तित्व के धनी और सबसे बढ़कर मां भारती के सच्चे सपूत थे। उनके निधन से एक युग का अंत हो गया है। उनका निधन संपूर्ण राष्ट्र के लिए अपूरणीय क्षति है। मेरे लिए तो अटल जी का जाना पिता तुल्य संरक्षक का साया सिर से उठने जैसा है। उन्होंने मुझे संगठन और शासन दोनों का महत्व समझाया, दोनों में काम करने की शक्ति और सहारा दिया। वे जब भी मिलते थे पिता की तरह खुश होकर आत्मीयता के साथ गले लगाते थे। मेरे लिए उनका जाना एक ऐसी कमी है जो कभी भर नहीं पाएगी। अटल जी ने अपने कुशल नेतृत्व और अविरत संघर्ष के द्वारा जनसंघ से लेकर के भाजपा तक इन संगठनों को मजबूती के साथ खड़ा किया। उन्होंने भाजपा के विचारों और नीतियों को देश में जन जन तक पहुंचाने का कार्य किया। उन्हीं के दृढ़ निश्चय और कठिन परिश्रम का परिणाम है कि आज भाजपा की यात्रा यहां तक पहुंची है। अटल जी भले ही हमें छोड़कर चीर निद्रा में लीन हो गए हो, लेकिन उनकी वाणी, उनका जीवन, उनकी सादगी, उनके विचार, उनका दर्शन हम समस्त भारतवासियों के लिए हमेशा प्रेरणा देता रहेगा। उनका ओजस्वी, तेजस्वी और यशस्वी व्यक्तित्व सदा हम देशवासियों का मार्गदर्शन करता रहेगा। अपार शोक की इस घड़ी में मेरी संवेदना उनके परिवार और समस्त देशवासियों के साथ है। इस दुख की घड़ी में मैं अटल जी के चरणों में आदरपूर्वक अपनी श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता हूं।
All right, that was Prime Minister Narendra Modi there speaking on Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Someone he said was like a father figure to him and taught him about governance, about government, about politics. Omar Abdullah's had to leave us. Let me just come to all of you and get your reactions. Shekhar, you know, when such a tall statesman passes away, we look back at the life, we look at the lessons, we say, what if Atalji had not fallen ill at the time, you know, when he did? What would be your main thoughts right now as to the sort of the lessons that you think we should be deriving from him in politics right now?
I think, first of all, that think about him. He was, everybody acknowledges, among the most popular prime ministers in India's history. He is also adored by all sides. He's not been in power now for 14 years. He's been silent now for almost a decade. So that was the majesty of that personality. Remember that he was the most popular politician in India's contemporary history, I'd say post-Nehru history, who never won a majority. Mrs. Gandhi won a majority, but he never won a majority. And yet, it was the power of his personality that he could build this trust and this popularity. Remember that when Narasimha Rao was facing a very difficult situation in Kashmir, anytime we want to say things have gone bad in Kashmir, we say, oh, it's now become like early 90s, which is how it was for Narasimha Rao. And that's when India faced a big challenge at the UN Human Rights Commission in Geneva. What did Narasimha Rao do? He requested Mr. Vajpayee to head the Indian delegation. So while Indian delegation had Salman Khurshid, who was Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, as the number 2, as the deputy, Mr. Vajpayee agreed to go as the leader. And they came back, they won that vote, they came back, they posed
and they had Farooq Abdullah with
Farooq Abdullah. They posed for pictures hugging each other. So that was the trust level that Mr. Vajpayee had created and politicians of that generation had created. Unfortunately, that is completely lost now. So with the going away of Mr. Vajpayee, Mr. Karunanidhi, starting with, I would say, Harkrishan Singh Surjit. If Surjit was there, Prakash Karat would not have withdrawn support to UPA and in the process self-destructed. CPM has never recovered from that.
Okay.
So these were old-time politicians who had seen the picture from all sides.
I think it's worth, let me just get you into this. I think Mamata Banerjee is about to speak, and as a Naveen Patnaik, the fact that they are as emotional as they are, well, there they are, they're sort of standing there.
Also, never personalized their differences.
Here you have it, Naveen Patnaik, Mamata Banerjee standing together. I don't know when that last happened. Both of them among the politicians who supported the BJP government because...
देखिए, मैं पहले कलकत्ता से निकालने का टाइम में बोल चुका था कि वाजपेयी जी का लीडरशिप में हम लोग गवर्नमेंट में काम किया है। जब वाजपेयी जी का गवर्नमेंट पहले फॉर्मेशन हुआ था 98 में, हम ऑल इंडिया तृणमूल कांग्रेस भी बाहर से उनको सपोर्ट दिया था। जब एक वोट में वाजपेयी जी का गवर्नमेंट गिर गया था, तब भी हम लोगों ने काम किया था। 1990 में भी हम लोग एक साथ में थे। वाजपेयी जी एक इंसान था, सबको साथ में लेकर काम करते थे। ये वाजपेयी जी का सबसे पुराना घराना का ये सबसे बड़ा जमींदारी था। माई सेल्फ, नीतीश कुमार, नवीन पटनायक, इवन जयललिता ऑल्सो, वी वर्क टुगेदर. So we remember on those days And he was a secular man. Always he used to listen to us. Always he used to work with us. He never quarreled with us. Or there is no differences between us. So today we remember all the down memory lane. And though 10 years, 8-10 years, he is not active because he was not well, he was bedridden. I came last 2011 after the assembly election in West Bengal, after 34 years when our government came in power. Then when I came in, I went to see him. And हमने देखा कि उनका पैरालिटिक हो गया था तब, तो कुछ बोलने चाहते थे लेकिन बोलने नहीं सकते थे, आंखों में पानी आ गया था. आई फील सो सैड. उसके बाद मैंने सोचा कि वाजपेयी जी बात करने चाहते हैं, बात बोलने चाहते हैं लेकिन कर सकते नहीं है, तो उनको दिल में बहुत दुख लगते थे, तो हम लोग को भी दुख लगते थे. तो इसी के लिए हम कभी कभी नमिता से, उसका बेटी से जो पालित करना है, उससे, रंजन से कभी कभी खबर हम लेते थे. हम पहले भी एम्स में भी पहले आ चुका, लेकिन आज मेरे को पता नहीं था जो उन्होंने चल बशी आने का बाद ही खबर मिला. हम लास्ट रेस्पेक्ट करके जा रहा है.
Mamata Banerjee, speaking out there. Smita, I think that also what she said reflects it. Look at the names she mentioned, all working with Atal Bihari Vajpayee at that time, from Jayalalitha and Mamata Banerjee. Couldn't have been easy. Imagine managing both Jayalalitha and Mamata Banerjee at the same time, and Nitish Kumar, and think about Sharad Yadav was in there, of course, Mr. Patnaik. That ability to maintain consensus, that perhaps would be the one enduring memory and the enduring legacy, which actually reversed the BJP's untouchable image and led to the creation of the NDA. We heard Omar Abdullah saying, we didn't ally with the BJP, we allied with Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
That's a bit of a quibble, I think. Yes, of course, he was the towering personality in the BJP at that time, and it was largely due to his ability to reach out to many of the allies that they came within that coalition. And remember, his is the only non-Congress prime ministership which lasted for 5 years. No other non-Congress prime minister has lasted for 5 years. If Mr. Modi completes the term, he will be the second one. Now comes to the fact whether, it was all Mr. Vajpayee's doing. His great ability also was to get a team together. He ran that clip in which he said, in Hindi, he said this, where many of you say, I'm the right man in the wrong party. So this was a theme which ran through all his term, where people said, that he's more Congressy, he's more in the Nehruvian League. He's not the quintessential BJP politician. But remember, he could continue with that kind of politics because he had that team going with him. He had Mr. Advani doing all the spade work for the RSS and the BJP, getting the Sangh together, making sure that the Sangh doesn't let go of, support to Mr. Vajpayee. He had Mr. Brijesh Mishra, who handled the bureaucracy, who did all the spade work as far as the bureaucracy is concerned. He had Mr. Jaswant Singh, Yashwant Sinha, several people who were reaching out. Jaswant Singh used to go out and reach out to AIADMK. There was Yashwant Sinha doing somebody or the other was assigned. That's also all credit to Mr. Vajpayee that he could get this team going for him.
So some leaders have a more centralized approach, and that's increasingly becoming more common in all parts of the world.
I'm not saying that, A leaders has a different style of doing. Just remember, he was running a coalition. He also, when you talked about Kashmir, and Pakistan, he also came after the 90s, as Shekhar just said, where we almost lost the narrative on Kashmir. So all the ambitious moves that he did was also the necessity that he needed to do that. It wasn't just a personal ambition or this vision that he had about solving Kashmir. It was more that we needed to do that.
Can I just ask, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just arrived at the residence, going in there to pay his respects. He, of course, did go twice to the hospital as well. Before I come to Desh on this aspect, on the Pakistan and the Kashmir, the openings that there were, obviously Lahore, but even after that, do you think in Pakistan there's a sense of regret that perhaps we could have figured something out at that stage and an opportunity was really lost?
Certainly there is. But on the other hand, there were complications at that time that Mr. Vajpayee was not able to overcome. We had had a lot of intelligence information that something was going on in Kargil, but he insisted nevertheless at that time in undertaking an initiative that was almost doomed from the start. Similarly, at the time of Agra, he wasn't ready to overrule his colleagues, and therefore that didn't work out.
Not that Musharraf wasn't being unreasonable also at that time.
What I want to say is, but it's amazing how despite setback after setback, he persisted in a goal that he saw was in the national interest. I would say the key to understanding his influence on Indian politics and the legacy that he has left behind is that he brought liberalism, pluralism, secularism, democracy, an open mind, an open heart, a sense of humor, a wry wit, and true parliamentarianism into politics. And that is what enabled him to keep a lid on some of the most extreme elements among his supporters, and at the same time have a credibility to reach out to others who held a different point of view based on a different set of values.
Okay, I'm just going to get Chandra Bose and Deshratan to comment on that before getting final thoughts from all of you. Meanwhile, Pakistan has issued a statement saying Mr. Vajpayee was a renowned statesman who contributed to bringing a change in India-Pakistan relations and remained a key supporter of SAARC and regional cooperation for development. The government and people of Pakistan extend their heartfelt condolences to his family and to the government and people of India. That statement just coming from Pakistan, a country with which Mr. Vajpayee did make many efforts to try and repair relations. As I said, the Lahore Bus Yatra being replayed very shortly afterwards by the Kargil betrayal. Chandra Bose, let me just get you in on some of these issues that we are talking about. And what Atal Bihari Vajpayee meant to the BJP, working in creating it, working in setting it up, helping take it from 2 seats forward, and then from there taking the next leap to the NDA, a contribution for which he really took a lot of the credit.
The Bose family, we are extremely saddened by the demise of Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, a stalwart, a statesman, a leader with a difference. Our heartfelt condolences to the near and dear ones. You see, I had the privilege of knowing Atalji from my younger days since 1978. You probably won't believe it, but I used to accompany my father, Amyonath Bose, who was extremely close to Atalji. And when he used to go to Delhi to meet him, I used to accompany him. In fact, Atalji, when he was the External Affairs Minister in the Janata Party government, he requested my father, Amyonath Bose, to go to Myanmar to be the Indian ambassador in Burma. Do you know why he essentially sent him to Burma? To find out the truth about Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose's disappearance angle. Because, as you know, the INA headquarters were in Rangoon.
Right.
And when my father returned from Rangoon, he brought the Netaji's chair, which Netaji had used in Rangoon as the supreme commander of the Azad Hind Fauj. Now, this would not have been possible,
right,
if not for Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Now, coming to the inclusive leader that he was, you see, he gave a new dimension to the Bharatiya Janata Party. You see, today, if you look back, he was the only leader who could unite the entire political fraternity based on issues. You see, political leaders, we work for the people. Of course, we do politics, but our objective and goal is to work for the people. Atalji ensured cutting across party lines, cutting across political ideology, to achieve that goal by uniting the political fraternity.
Right, Mr. Bose.
It is very unfortunate that today we don't have such leaders. But we must learn from Atalji that we have to be inclusive in order to tackle the issues facing the nation.
Is that a message you would like to give to the leaders of today then, across the political spectrum, including your own party?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And the other issue is he was so accessible. Whenever I sought for an appointment, he used to give me an appointment within a couple of hours when I used to visit Delhi. I think we need to understand that political
be open,
leaders must
be
be
inclusive
accessible
to all and be
not only
accessible.
to your party people, to all people.
All right, Mr. Chandra Bose, thank you so much.
Unless you're accessible, unless you can communicate, you cannot progress.
All right, that's a very important message coming out from you. Lessons that actually all leaders should take. Just wanted to ask you, what the BJP is feeling, what the RSS also, the RSS relationship with Atal Bihari Vajpayee. It's really two versions. One version was, there's some loggerheads, the RSS not entirely happy with him, not just on social grounds, or opening up when it comes to the economy. Swadeshi Jagran Manch had certain views on privatization. Was some of that overstated, or were there tensions?
I think it was overstated, and he was always a proud Swayamsevak. He always, in fact, time and again reiterated the fact that he is a proud Swayamsevak, like any Swayamsevak is. And his life was shaped by RSS. He was a pracharak in RSS. At the age of 15, he joined RSS. So his entire philosophy, is of Pad nahi daitva hai. It's not the post that is important, it is the responsibility, which is one of the important facet of RSS, which was imbibed by him. And he's always concentrated on responsibility. That gave him, and in fact him and the others in the BJP, of service orientation. People come first, then comes the post. Be a servant to the people. That is what the fact remains. And if you recall, the two institutions that shaped his life, one was DAV College Kanpur, where he did his post-graduation in political science, and where he met Deen Dayal Upadhyay also. And an important anecdote out here, he was doing his law at the same time with his father, and they both stayed in the same hostel room. And not many people know of this fact. And there he shaped his oratory skills, and he tested his politics in Kanpur. And from there he, moved on to the larger theatre.
Okay, so let's get final. I would like to, on this program, we're about to go across to Kerala also, where, today, of course, with the passing away of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, a lot of attention is on that particular development. But it's important to also look very closely at what's happening in Kerala, where those floods are raging out of control, and we are approaching nearly 100 deaths there right now. So we will be going across to Kerala in just a couple of minutes to get a sense of the latest there. Let me just get final thoughts from all of you. Some of the lessons that I think Chandra Bose was also referring to, accessibility.
Well, I think he is complaining about not getting access now with the Prime Minister, if I can read his pulse. But
you're being a little okay.
But having said, I hope the Prime Minister is listening to him.
The Prime Minister is right now in...
इसको शेखर इसको कहते हैं सुनाना बेटी को सुना दिया बहू को.
हाँ, बहू को सुना दिया, बिल्कुल.
नहीं, sorry, सुनाना बहू को सुना दिया बेटी को.
जिसको सुनना था उसको समझ आ गया. The second thing is, I agree that Mr. Vajpayee was a committed Swayamsevak deep down, and there was no ambiguity about that. But he was also frustrated with the RSS because it was not changing with the times. He simply could not accept them being still frozen in their minds about, as he used to say, 50 years earlier. So one of the things he once said, he made me wait for a little while for a meeting after he had lost power. And then he said, अरे आपको आधा घंटा बैठा दिया. तो मैंने कहा लोग आए हुए थे. तो he said संघ वाले आए थे. तो मैंने कहा क्या हुआ? अरे क्या हुआ? वाहियात काम करते हैं, शुगर हो जाता है, दवाई खाते नहीं है, मीठी फांकते रहते हैं. दे कीप swallowing powdered fenugreek. फिर जब बिगड़ जाता है तो कहते हैं अटल जी एम्स में कोई डॉक्टर के पास भेज दीजिए. So he wanted RSS to modernize. Remember, of all the prime ministers we've had, political prime ministers, I'm taking Dr. Manmohan Singh out of it, he was the only instinctive economic reformer in the modern sense. He dared to sell the public sector companies that he did. Yeah. Nobody's done it after him. He is the only Indian Prime Minister, and we have to be eternally grateful to him, who had such a brilliant scientific temper that he allowed BT cotton cultivation in India. Otherwise, 10 years of Sonia Gandhi's NAC and her genius environment ministers, This would not have happened under Ms. Modi's government, where now seed research is fully controlled by the RSS. This would never happen.
So, so some of his legacies are not just in the message and the pluralism and take people along with you and the rest of it. There was a lot that happened in the Vajpayee years when he was the Prime Minister to push things like economic reform, privatization, disinvestment.
GM seeds. Can you imagine GM seeds?
He basically continued what Mr. Narasimha Rao was doing. A lot of what he did in his tenure was continuation of the policies of Mr. Narasimha Rao. They were very good friends, by the way. A lot has been talked about the era of Vajpayee. Can that kind of politics be played today? Why not? Of course it can be. It's not as if you need to replicate all that Vajpayee was in the next Prime Minister. But why not learn? Of course they can learn. But about accessibility and ambiguity, I think it ended with Mr. Vajpayee. And also, with as far as accessibility, and it's not as if any of the other Prime Ministers were accessible to everybody. There's always, you have your coterie, you have your favorite journalists,
and
you have your favorite
politicians.
Everybody has their favorites and they meet with them.
I'm about to end the last line from you, and then I want to ask Manish Shankarayal one last question.
Let us be very clear that his 44 years were as in opposition, and he supported the governments of the day on issues, which is not happening today. So it's an important lesson for
I think that's
opposition.
an important point.
And he supported
what he said when Nehru died, with his words at that time, calling Indira Gandhi Durga. So you can be a responsible opposition. And Shekhar said that story about going and helping Narasimha Rao.
Yes.
So those stories.
Well, I think Narasimha Rao, Smita will remember the other one at a public event. I think this was Pandit Jasraj's performance when Narasimha Rao said, "Ye mere guru hain." So he said, "Agar main guru, to ye guru Ghantal." So there was that kind of bonhomie.
Last quick comment.
Anecdote.
You remember 2004, Vajpayee, 2004, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee lost the election. You were sworn in as a minister, walked across and bent in front of everybody and touched his feet as you were being sworn in. What made you do that?
My respect for the man. Also, I felt that he was shattered by the loss that had come to him. He was sitting there, a picture of misery and despair, and I felt that no human being should be reduced to this condition. So I walked across to him and I took his blessings. My own leadership, I think, totally disapproved of that gesture. But it was really my farewell to him. After that, although I met him once or twice, he was not in a position to really interact with me. Right. So I said goodbye, Atalji, a long time ago, and it was my way of showing that even though I fundamentally disagreed with him on a huge range of issues, I felt the influence of Nehru on Vajpayee,
right.
Which we have not mentioned.
Vikram, the day his government fell and he made
that
speech,
that big influence.
I think all of us who were there that day,
ma'am?
Everybody was shocked.
That last influence, right. The Nehruvian influence on him, it showed how a fusion is possible. Okay. But unfortunately, we have drifted very far.
Last line from you.
The day his government fell, when he gave that speech and the 13-day government fell, it was such a shock, and you didn't even find the Congress treasury bench, the Congress benches celebrating that victory. Really, even in the Congress, even though it was that one vote thing, they didn't celebrate even that, because everybody was sad that day that this has happened. Nobody really expected what will happen.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Today is a day when the entire country is really looking and thinking of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, mourning him. It is an entire nation which is feeling a sense of loss. You're seeing there, those are pictures coming straight from the residence where a number of people are continuing to come. I think it's the Prime Minister. It's the President who's about to come in. We'll just stay with these pictures for a couple of minutes. The President now coming in to pay his final respects to Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Ranjan Bhattacharya there greeting the President as he puts flowers there. We are going to have to leave it here just for the moment as soon as the President finishes paying his respects. And then we would like to go across now to take a look at the situation in Kerala.